Alright, what's happening, y'all, man? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores coming to y'all with a relatively quick video. Quite a few things to discuss today. Main thing, we got to talk about this Zach Cunningham situation, man. The Texans waived linebacker Zach Cunningham, and man, in my opinion, I feel like we need him in a big way, and we're going to discuss why. First of all, on his side, what he can bring to the team, and then second of all, we're down linebackers like crazy, especially going into this week. And then even while fully healthy, I still feel like we would need a Zach Cunningham. But with all of the injuries to our linebacker group right now, man, we need him in the worst way possible. But we're going to take a look at that. Of course, I'm going to give y'all a big time Washington football team versus Cowboys injury update. Y'all already know every Wednesday, the weekly update, give y'all the injury updates for both teams who may or may not play. We have a small clue, but I'll update y'all later on in the week to let y'all know who will or will not play. And then, of course, we also have to talk about this Montez Sweat going on the COVID-19 list. He finally recovers from a jaw injury, and now he's on the COVID-19 list. We're going to talk about that. And then lastly, I have some more crazy stats from y'all. Anytime I get some crazy, random, elite, amazing stats, I gotta bring it to y'all. So we're going to go ahead and dive into all of that. But before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Also, make sure you check out the rest of the channel. All of my videos are organized in playlists. I even have a comedy playlist for all of my funny videos. Make sure you go check out my Washington football team versus Raiders game review, about 30 minutes long. Go check that out and be on the lookout for more content coming out this week and all of the live streams coming as well. And without further ado, let's get it. Alright, so let's first talk about what's going on with the Washington football team and why we need a Zach Cunningham. First of all, Jamin Davis is in concussion protocol. We're going to talk about that when we get to the injury update part of this video as well. And then, of course, Khaleke Hudson has a sprained ankle that he suffered against the Raiders, and he's expected to miss at least a couple of weeks. And he was already our backup. Remember, we lost Jon Bostic to the season, and I mean, Jon Bostic wasn't really any good. So I'm glad he's no longer on the field for us, but I'm definitely not rooting for him. But I definitely am not rooting for his injury. But I definitely felt like it was time to move on anyway. But I definitely wish him a speedy recovery, because no matter who you are, even if you play for another team, I don't wish injuries on anybody. And then you have Landon Collins, who may return this week, who's been kind of playing linebacker for us and actually been playing it very well. And then on top of all of that, you got Cole Holcomb, who plays 100% of snaps. Like, literally the only game he hasn't played 100% of snaps in this entire season was the Falcons game when he got hurt, had to miss a few plays, and then he came back in. Other than that, every other game we played this season, Cole Holcomb has been in on every single snap. What happens if he gets hurt? Like, what's the break glass in case of emergency if he gets hurt? I know we have a lot of guys already on roster, but they're all like special teams guys. Jordan Kunajik, David Mayo, a lot of these guys that are literally here more so for special teams than anything else. We do not want them on the field as a defensive player, as a linebacker on an 11 personnel defense going against a starting offense in the NFL, man. We do not want that. That is not ideal. And so that's on the Washington football team side. Let's look at the Zach Cunningham side, because like I said in the intro, I'd be down to sign Zach Cunningham even if our linebacker core was fully healthy, even if we still had Jon Bostic, Jamin Davis was not in concussion protocol, Khaleke Hudson wouldn't be out for the next couple of weeks, Landon Collins fully healthy. I'm still like, let's go get Zach Cunningham. But then with the situation we're in, I feel like it's a no-brainer. But Zach Cunningham, I mean, his biggest strengths is that he's a great tackler. He literally led the NFL with the most solo and combined tackles last season, the 2020 season. He only trails Lavonte David in tackles for loss or no gain over the past 2 years. So it's not even like he just has a bunch of tackles and he's everywhere. Like, he's stopping guys at the line of scrimmage, and that's huge for us. Because, I mean, our linebacker core, up until really against the Raiders, they've been pretty good tacklers, but one of my biggest gripes with everybody, Jamin Davis, Cole Holcomb, even in their good games, even when they show potential, they make a lot of tackles, but they're already down the field. They're like 4 or 5 yards down the field. And I'm glad you made the tackle, but could we make the tackle at the line of scrimmage for no gain rather than after they've already gained 5 yards? And that's something Zach Cunningham specializes in. And now, granted, this current season right now is the worst he's ever looked according to his Pro Football Focus grades, but he's on a terrible defense right now, bro. The whole team is terrible. I mean, they're literally just trading away and selling any good players for draft picks at this point. So, like, I mean, Zach Cunningham's basically just kind of out there doing it by himself. That great Texans defense from a few years ago is not there anymore, man. A lot of those players, most of them, the vast majority of them are gone, whether it be through trade or release or whatever. I mean, the Texans have basically just been having a fire sale. They're like in complete tear it all down, let's start over with a bunch of draft picks and draft capital type of thing. And Zach Cunningham has been one of the very few veterans still on the team that's really worth something. And it's hard to perform well when the guys around you are young and experienced or just plain old not good. When they're not handling their responsibilities, it puts more on your plate. So of course he hasn't looked as good lately. But even at his best, he's not a great coverage linebacker. And then that's what we hope to develop Jamin Davis to be. So with Cole Holcomb doing what he does, being pretty good at both, pretty good in coverage, pretty good at run stopping, Zach Cunningham, a run stop specialist who could play Mike linebacker for us potentially, and then you have Jamin Davis as our potential coverage linebacker in the future. I think that's the makings of a pretty good linebacker core right there. Now, of course, he's not a Devin White. He's not a Roquan Smith, my Georgia Bulldog. He's not a Darius Leonard. He's not a Fred Warner. But you could definitely argue he's that tier right below them. And man, I mean, 2 tiers below that will take that on this team, especially at this point with all of the injuries we have. Again, to me, it's a no-brainer, especially with how much money we'll own. Because remember, back in August 2020, the Texans signed him to a 4-year contract extension worth $58 million. But he was benched last week, like literally just healthy scratch. And then he got waived today. And Zach Cunningham has been asking for a trade since this whole Texans thing has been spiraling out of control. And I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons that he was benched last week. But now that he's been cut by the Texans, no team has to take on that huge contract. The Texans are paying most of it. Since he's going through waivers, if a team were to pick him up through waivers, you would only have to pay $900,000 for the remainder of this season. But since it's very likely that he'll go unclaimed, even though, I mean, I feel like it shouldn't. I feel like we should be on that immediately. He will become an unrestricted free agent. And then the Texans will take a $12.8 million cap hit next season just to cut him. So they're going to be paying a guy nearly $13 million to not even be on their team. Like, I just don't know why it was that serious to get rid of him. They didn't even trade him for draft picks. So I don't know. I definitely feel like he hasn't been that bad. Maybe it's like a discipline thing. Maybe he's been a locker room cancer because he's been trying to get off this team since it's been imploding. And maybe they just wanted to get him out of the locker room. I'd highly doubt it's what he does on the field. And I feel like with the Texans situation, I don't feel like he would be a locker room problem for us. I think he just wants to go to a team that actually cares, that's actually trying to win games, that's not clearly tanking. So I feel like if we would have signed him, we wouldn't have to worry about any of the stuff that the Texans were dealing with. Because, I mean, I'm pretty sure he'd just be happy to be anywhere but on the Texans at this point. So again, to me, it's a no-brainer. You go sign him right now. You claim him on waivers. You do not let him become an unrestricted free agent, in my opinion. He's a healthy linebacker too, because his rookie season, he started and played in 14 games. And then 2019 and 2016, he played in and started all 16 games. And then this season, he's played in 10 games, only started 7. And again, he got benched last week. So that's not even because of injury. So he's a very healthy linebacker as well. Pretty dependable. Which, as far as our linebacker group goes right now, the only guy we have like that is Cole Holcomb. And now for the Washington football team versus Cowboys injury update. First of all, Logan Thomas has officially been placed on injured reserve, ruling him out for the remainder of the 2021 season. So it sounds like the injury wasn't as bad as we thought, but it's still not like good enough for him to play this season, sadly. But hopefully he'll be back better than ever. As long as it's not like a torn ACL, MCL, and all of that type of stuff, even with the technology that we have right now, and guys coming back better, faster, more explosive than they ever were before the injury, I'd still prefer to avoid that just in case it may have some lingering effects on him, because everybody's body is different. So it's nice to hear that he potentially did not suffer an ACL injury, a tear, or anything like that. But at the same time, it's still bad enough to where we will not see Logan Thomas the rest of the season, which really does suck, especially for this playoff run. But hey, man, next man up. And then for the Washington practice report, as far as injuries go, as far as did not participate for today as a Wednesday, Landon Collins with the foot, Jamin Davis concussion protocol, JD Mckissic concussion protocol, and guard/center Wes Schweitzer, which is crazy because he was never guard/center until we got to the point where we had to bring out our 4th string center. Wes Schweitzer is supposed to be a backup guard. So the fact that he's guard center just lets you know how much we've been mixing up this offensive line, because I do not remember ever seeing that tag until the last 2 weeks. It's always just been guard Wes Schweitzer, now it's guard center. And then limited, you had Jonathan Allen with his groin injury, Tyler Larson, our 2nd string center, I guess technically, with a knee injury, Curtis Samuel with a groin injury, Brandon Scherff with a knee injury, Jordan Kunaszyk with a hamstring injury, and Ricky Seals-Jones with his hip. And as far as that goes, I think Landon Collins and JD Mckissic and maybe even potentially Wes Schweitzer should be good to go. I feel like out of everybody on this list, Jamin Davis is probably the least likely to return, but I think everybody else should be straight. I think Ricky Seals-Jones should finally come back this week. I think you shouldn't have to worry about Jonathan Allen. Ron Rivera even said it in a press conference, you shouldn't have to worry about him. Tyler Larson may be ready to go. Curtis Samuel's always going to be limited. I think Brandon Scherff is another guy that's just always going to be limited. And again, most importantly, I think JD Mckissic and Landon Collins should return against the Cowboys, which is going to be a huge help for us. But again, I feel like Jamin Davis is the largest risk of not playing this week. And I'm glad to see that Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, and Eric Flowers are not even on the injury report at all. That's great news right there. And then Rivera even addressed Curtis Samuel. He said he was limited because they're being careful to manage his reps as he continues to work his way back from the groin injury. So he's limited not necessarily because he's really hurt. They're just limiting him in practice on purpose. And then, of course, Wendell Smallwood, who filled in for JD Mckissic against the Raiders, they said that he was a little sore. So they activated Jonathan Williams as an insurance just in case if Wendell Smallwood can't even go. But again, I think JD McKissic should be able to return this week. And then on the Cowboys side of it, you have wide receiver Noah Brown, who did not participate with a groin injury, Tony Pollard with a foot injury, who did not participate. That's huge. If Tony Pollard cannot play against us, that's huge for the Cowboys, man. That is a big loss for them, because honestly, Tony Pollard is a more dangerous threat against us than Ezekiel Elliott, especially with the way we were missing tackles against the Raiders. We missed a tackle or two against Tony Pollard any given play. That can be taken to the crib, as you saw that he did against the Saints with that terrible angle that Buddy took. So that's a big thing to monitor. Then you have Cedric Wilson with the ankle injury. They didn't say what he did, participate or not, I don't know, but I'm assuming he's going to be straight. And then also running back Ezekiel Elliott with his knee injury, he was a full participant. So again, Tony Pollard potentially not playing against us is really big. And then before we move on to Montez Sweat, of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick has officially had season-ending arthroscopic hip surgery. I mean, like we've been saying all throughout the season, bruh, the injury that he suffered wasn't even that bad. His age has definitely made it worse. I mean, he's literally missing the rest of the season with that hip injury. Even though, I mean, even if he was fully healthy, we still prefer to see Taylor Heineke out there. We're on a win streak. Don't fix what's not broken. But just to update y'all, just to let y'all know, Ryan Fitzpatrick is officially out for season after he just got hip surgery. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. Again, I've said it several times throughout the season. It's just his age, man. Because, I mean, a Justin Herbert, maybe he gets hit the same way, blindsided, and doesn't get hurt at all. Maybe he just jumps right up and is ready to go. Whereas Ryan Fitzpatrick not only gets hurt, but then he has a way longer recovery situation going on. And yeah, he's out for season, man. He's 39 years old, and he's only getting older. It's sad, man. I mean, for him, this was like his last ditch effort to do something in the NFL, and then in the first quarter, get hit blindsided from Charles Leno, who's actually been blocking very well since then. But he was a little ugly them first 3 games. But to get blindsided like that and to miss the entire season after all of that work you put in the offseason, that's pretty sad, man. I mean, he was basically a celebrity leading up to week 1, man. All of the interviews and stuff and getting to know his family and all of that stuff. It's crazy how just fast all of that just crashed and just ended. I mean, it just poof. And then here comes Montez Sweat, man. Lord have mercy. Washington has placed Montez Sweat on the reserve COVID-19 list. And of course, we placed Logan Thomas on IR and signed Jonathan Williams from the New York Giants practice squad. But I mean, Montez Sweat has been out with a fractured jaw for the past few weeks. And then this week, when he was finally set to return, he goes and tests positive for COVID-19. And because he's unvaccinated, he's out 10 days. So that means he should be back to play week 15 against the Eagles, but 10 days from now means that he'll also miss a lot of practice leading up to that Eagles game. Like, he will not be eligible to be activated off of the COVID-19 list until Saturday, so he can't even practice till Saturday. And this is horrible for a person that's already missed the past few weeks due to a jaw injury, and then his diet changed. He had to literally drink his foods, he had to blend his food and everything, so his body's probably a little off from that as well. And then, I mean, when you catch COVID, you never know what it's gonna do to your body, so don't be surprised if Montez Sweat, when we play the Eagles, does not look like the normal Montez Sweat that we're used to seeing. Between breaking your jaw, the diet you've gone on, missing games and practices for a few weeks. I mean, this man basically just went in a mid-season off-season. Do not expect much out of Montez Sweat when he returns this season, especially against the Eagles, because again, he won't even be able to practice leading up to that game. He's going to be activated, come off a COVID-19 list, and then the next day have to play in an NFL game. Now, maybe we'll see some more Montez Sweat-like things happening towards the end of the season, but don't expect much that Eagles game, honestly. And then lastly, for some crazy stats, first of all, Antonio Gibson is tied for first in broken tackles with 23 since week 10. He's tied for first with Colts running back Jonathan Taylor. So since week 10, Antonio Gibson has been killing it. I mean, generally our entire team has been killing it since week 10, but Antonio Gibson is definitely one of the most notable players. Also, Jonathan Allen is the highest graded defender on 3rd and 4th downs according to Pro Football Focus with a 92.2. Remember a couple of weeks ago it was him and Myles Garrett tied up. Now it's just Jonathan Allen by himself. So on 3rd and 4th downs, he's the best defensive lineman in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus. Best defender, period. Speaking of Jonathan Allen, even though this is not necessarily a stat, but Jonathan Allen pledges to give $3 million to charities throughout his career. That's dope. And Jonathan Allen has been nominated by the team as their 2021 Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee because he's heavily involved in the community. He does a lot of stuff with youth works and nonprofit organizations and all kinds of ways to give back. Again, he's already pledged the $3 million. He's like verbally pledged that, but he's already been putting in work even before then. Also, shouts out to Tan Todd. Per John Com, Washington's 3rd down efficiency the first 8 games on offense was 34.7, which was ranked 27th, and on defense was 56.5, which was dead last 32nd. Now the last 4 games, offense is 50%, first in the NFL, and the defense is only allowing 30.8%, which is 6th. So the offense went from a 27th 3rd down efficiency over the first 8 games to a first place 3rd down efficiency over the last 4 games. And the defense went from dead last 32nd to 6th. That's why we're undefeated. Also, according to advanced pass protection statistics and the way they scale it with their different models and all of that type of stuff, we have the 2nd best pass protection in the NFL. The only team out pass protecting us is the Rams. The Buccaneers, the Eagles, and the Chiefs are somewhere in our stratosphere, but we're literally 2nd. And this is like a cross-reference of Pro Football Focus where they watch tape and then ESPN using their player tracking data. When they combine those things together, we're 2nd in the NFL in pass protection. The Rams are 1st. And like I keep telling y'all, bro, this is without our future franchise right tackle, Samuel Cosmi at right tackle. We're on our 2nd string tackle for like the past 6 weeks. We're on to our 4th center. Both of our guards are banged up, Eric Flowers and Brandon Sheriff. I mean, the fact that we're out here with the 2nd best pass protecting offensive line in the NFL and also one of the best run blocking ones as well, with all the injuries that we have going on. I know I keep saying it, but John Moscow needs a raise, bro. Also, Daron Payne over the past 2 weeks has a 90.2 overall grade, which is the 2nd highest among all interior defensive linemen, only behind Aaron Donald. So these past 2 weeks, Daron Payne, according to Pro Football Focus, has been the 2nd best interior defensive lineman in the NFL, again only behind Aaron Donald. Also, Taylor Heineke, in this 4-game winning streak, Taylor Heineke has the NFL's 5th best total QBR with a 65.4. And then before we go, just got to show you this picture. This is what I'm talking about when I talked about in my game review and my post-game live stream, where I allow y'all to call in and voice y'all opinions on everything that went down in the game that just happened that day. I was talking to y'all about how Terry McLaurin was getting triple teamed in the red zone on that Antonio Gibson touchdown catch, and then like one guy left and then another guy came in, so there was another set of 3 guys. That's the type of attention that Terry McLaurin gets from defenses right there, and that's why Antonio Gibson was able to be open for that touchdown underneath. This is ridiculous, bro. This is what Terry McLaurin does. This is a Terry McLaurin effect, man. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section and let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Should we go ahead and sign Zach Cunningham immediately like how I feel, or do you feel like we should pass on him and figure something out, look elsewhere, wait till the draft or whatever? Also, let me know how you feel about these Washington football team versus Cowboys injuries. Do you feel like Tony Pollard is potentially a huge loss for the Cowboys like I do? And are you excited to potentially get Landon Collins, JD Mckissic, and Wes Schweitzer back? And are you worried about this linebacker group like I am, with Jamin Davis possibly going to be in concussion protocol, will not be able to play against the Cowboys possibly, with Khaleke Hudson missing a couple of weeks? Hopefully we get Landon Collins back, but man, the linebacker group is shallow right now. Also, how do you feel about the Montez Sweat situation? Do you feel like when he finally returns, will he be himself? And of course, let me know how you feel about a lot of those crazy stats that I just discussed. But as always, man, please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. And also, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to everybody that pulls up to every stream, leaves a like, is in the comment section conversing and debating. I love it. Shouts out to everybody that donates to the channel, man. I really appreciate y'all. And as always, a special shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. I really appreciate y'all. Catch y'all later. I'm out.